4488, the field is closed right now. We've had an aircraft accident, so the field is closed right now. We're not pushing anybody back or moving anybody right now.
This morning, flights at Reagan National Airport in D.C. are grinding to a halt in the wake of a tragic crash. A Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines flight out of Wichita as the plane prepared to land at the airport. Thank you for joining us this morning, Kansas. I'm Eddie Randall.
And I'm Alexis Padilla. We've been tracking this story since we first learned about the crash Wednesday evening. We will have continuing coverage throughout the morning.
And we have a team of live reporters following every angle of this developing story. Let's break down what we know so far. The helicopter had 3 people on board and the plane was carrying 64. New this morning, U.S. Figure Skating confirms several members of their skating community are among that number.
The organization says that includes athletes, coaches, and family members. They were, quote, returning home from the National Development Camp held in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita, Kansas. 2 sources close to the situation confirmed the total number of bodies that have been recovered from the Potomac River, where the 2 aircraft crashed, is approaching 20. It is still not clear what caused the wreck, but an official says the helicopter was on a training flight when it happened.
Reports show leading up to the crash, air traffic controllers cleared the plane to land at Reagan National. Less than 30 seconds before the crash, the controller asked the helicopter pilot if they saw the plane, then told the pilot to go behind the American Airlines flight. The crash happened seconds later. This video from EarthCam captures the moment of that collision.
All flights at Reagan National Airport in D.C. are halted right now. The airport is not expected to resume flights until at least 11 this morning Eastern time.
And right now, Eisenhower Airport is open and most flights out of Wichita are still scheduled.
KSN's Zina Taher is live at the airport. Zina, can you describe to us what is the mood among workers and passengers this morning?
Yeah, Alexis, Eddie, you ask about the mood here. There is an awareness here of what happened yesterday. There's a nervousness, there's a sadness. People are worried about their community, but they're also worried, hopping on this American Airlines flight. I did speak to one woman who said her flight hasn't been delayed at all as far as she knows, but we do know that there are some American Airlines flights that have been diverted or delayed. This airport is open. Flights are still preparing to take off. Last night, people flying into Wichita learned about the plane crash in D.C. when they got off the plane. We know several city leaders were also at the airport working to find out details. The airport set aside a room for families that were waiting for news about their loved ones who flew out on the plane, and I understand they have since gone home. One person arriving into ICT last night filled with questions about what happened.
Things like this they're not supposed to happen, and whether it be a helicopter, a commercial jet plane, a private plane, no one should be in harm's way, regardless of what the cause is. And it's sad to hear that things like this are happening. And I'm sorry to the family that was affected by it.
We're continuing to talk to people at the airport, and we'll be here throughout the morning giving you updates. Here for you, Zina Taher, KSN News 3.
Yeah, people looking for those updates and details is something we are going to experience a lot of today. Zina, we'll see you back here in about 30 minutes. Thank you. And this morning, a lot of Kansas families are learning the details of this tragedy, and they're waiting to find out what happened to their loved ones.
American Airlines set up a number for those people to call and find out more. The number is right there on your screen. It's 800-679-8215. We also have it on our website, ksn.com. Federal officials held a news conference in Washington, D.C. within hours of the crash. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who just took over the position on Tuesday, said he talked with President Donald Trump in the Situation Room, along with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
We are going to offer full support to those on the ground, to the mayor, but also to the NTSB, who is going to be conducting the investigation in this matter. We are going to provide all the support that's necessary.
The National Transportation Safety Board already has a GO team investigating the crash.
And responses are pouring in from Kansas leaders in the wake of this tragedy. Nearly every Wichita City Council member was seen heading up the stairs at Eisenhower National Airport Wednesday evening as they learned of this news. Councilor J.V. Johnston says this plane crash is going to have a lasting impact on the people of Wichita for a long time.
It's just a sheer tragedy. We're all going to know, most people in Wichita are probably going to know somebody on that flight. You know, a family member, a co-worker, a friend of a friend. So it's going to be a really tough time for a lot of Wichitans coming ahead.
And Councilor Johnston says the ICT's connection to the aviation industry makes the deadly collision much more difficult. We will hear more from city leaders later this morning. They have a scheduled briefing at 8 a.m.
The CEO of American Airlines, Robert Isom, released a video statement following the crash. He said the airline is cooperating fully with the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation and that it will continue to provide all the information it can.
Our cooperation is without pause, and we want to learn everything we can about today's events. That work will take time, but anything we can do now, we're doing. And right now, that means focusing on taking care of all passengers and crew involved, as well as their families.
The FBI is also assisting local agencies in the response.
And these images right here are among the first of the wreckage in the Potomac. As emergency crews continue their searching, aviation experts are working to provide perspective. Steve Cowell has more than 18,000 hours of pilot experience. He says that one thing the NTSB investigators will be looking at is the plane's terminal collision avoidance system, or TCAS, which all commercial planes have.
However, when you get below a certain altitude, the TCAS system will not give the pilots it's called resolution alert. In other words, they will be able to move vertically, either climb or descend to avoid the collision. In this case, the Black Hawk helicopter was from behind, and it was so quick that there was virtually no chance for any sort of a deviation by the pilots to avoid this situation.
And Cowell, who you just heard from there, said even for a private pilot to fly in at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, they need to undergo special certification. And the Wichita community is coming together to support people affected by this crash.
The Kansas Aviation Museum says a prayer vigil will be held today at noon in the Wichita City Council chambers. It says everyone is welcome to join in and support the community.
And of course, we will have continuous live coverage of the deadly crash throughout our morning show. And you can also find full details in this story over on KSN.com.